No, I am not a hypocrite. One day after I said that Tennessee basketball was putting far too much stock in trying to land Chaz Lanier and sacrificing potential depth in other ways, the Vols ended up landing Chaz Lanier. That's right, Lanier on Friday evening tweeted out home is where the heart is and confirmed his commitment to Rick Barnes' program, committing to Tennessee over new head coach Mark Pope and the Kentucky Wildcats and Pope's former school, the BYU Cougars. Okay, let me break this down for you guys real quick, because a lot of y'all are going to accuse me of being hypocritical and retroactively declaring things with what I'm about to say. Because I said, and I wrote, that Tennessee's putting too much stock into Chaz Lanier's basket. The reason I said that was because they were sacrificing adding potential depth pieces elsewhere when they already had a solid rotation, 8-man rotation. All they needed was an extra shooter, an extra scorer here or there. Obviously, that's not a problem now because they added Chaz Lanier. And yes, Chaz Lanier is a huge addition. Chaz Lanier, despite his first 3 years with the North Florida Ospreys and the Atlantic Sun, averaging 1.7 points per game, then 4.5 points per game, then 4.7 points per game, despite a career average of 8.9 points per game, I obviously can't ignore what he did his last year, where he averaged 19.7 points per game, shot 44% from three, 88% from the free throw line, hit nearly 3.5 3-pointers a game, and was just an incredible scorer all the way around. This is a huge pickup for Rick Barnes and Tennessee. That's not contradictory. It's not contradictory to say that Tennessee put too much stock in trying to land Chaz Lanier, but getting him would still be a huge pickup for the Vols. Getting him was a huge pickup for the Vols. They now are loaded with depth. I felt that they added all the pieces they needed. The question was who was going to be the go-to scorer, and those type of players are different. Sometimes it's your power forward, sometimes it's your stretch forward, sometimes it's your wing, like it was last year with Dalton Connect. They replaced Dalton Connect this offseason with Darling Stone-Dubar. But there is a question where, okay, you may have replaced a guy from a schematic standpoint, but did you replace a guy in the sense of when you need a bucket, you can go to him? And you need as many options for that as possible. And that could be a 2-guard, that could be a 3-guard, that could be a point guard, that could be a stretch 4, that could be a wing, that could be a center. Adding Chaz Lanier gives them another option on that front to find out if there's a guy that they can just turn to get them a bucket when things go south. That doesn't mean that Dubar won't schematically replace Dalton Connect. We just don't know if he's that guy. However, adding Chaz Lanier gives Tennessee a huge advantage in the backcourt now. The Vols are loaded with elite three-point shooters, which is something that Rick Barnes has been working towards for a while as he's kind of changed his system from more of the flex offense to the high-low motion, which he ran last year. Tennessee, guys, they are better than last year's team. Tennessee is now better than last year's team. They have an inside game with Felix Opara and Igor Milicic, the two transfers they picked up, along with JP Estrella, who's going to develop, giving them 3 guys as opposed to having 2 last year with Jonas Edu and Toby Awaka. They have Zakai Ziegler coming back. They have Jordan Gainey coming back. They have Jemai Mashak coming back. They have Cameron Carr coming back, who by all accounts was so good, that's what ran off Freddie DeLeon and DJ Jefferson. Now they've added Darling Stone-Dubar and Chaz Lanier. Okay, let me just go down the list real quick, guys. Players who are expected to be sharpshooters. Lanier himself, who is 6'4", 175, by the way, coming home. That's where the home is where the heart is because he's from Nashville, went to Innsworth School in Nashville. So Lanier, sharpshooter. Jordan Gainey, although he was off last year, is still a shooter. He's an option. Zakai Ziegler can get hot. Jemai Mashak started to develop as a shooter. Dubar is a sharpshooter. And one of their big men, Igor Milicic, is a sharpshooter. They can go 9 deep now with a solid rotation. And when they go 9 deep, they have 7 options for three-point shooters, guys. That's incredible. That's so much more beyond what they had last year, where they only went 8 deep. And only 4 options were shooters, quite honestly, because not only were Jonas Edu and Toby Awaka not options as sharpshooters, but Josiah Jordan James and Santi Vescovi weren't real options either at times. So now they can go 9 deep with 7 sharpshooters, 3 options among bigs as opposed to just 2, one who can play the stretch 4, and they have multiple options to figure out who their go-to scorer would be. Chaz Lanier is the perfect type of player to commit to Rick Barnes, just like Darling Stone-Dubar was, just like Dalton Connect was, and here's why. He's an elite scorer. He's got now an NBA frame, play well at a small school, and he's a 4-year guy. So when he's coming to Rick Barnes, it's not a pit stop for the NBA. It is a, let me develop the last part of my game to make myself into an NBA draft pick. Okay, that's very different from one and dones who use college as a pit stop for the NBA and really shouldn't even be playing in college basketball. They should just be going straight to the NBA draft. Okay, but these type of players, they want to develop a part of their game, which is why they're already 4-year guys. That's the big part of a guy like Connect or Lanier or Dubar. Chaz Lanier is going to do that, meaning here's why that's big. He's fully going to buy into Rick Barnes' system. Everything Rick Barnes asks him to do, he's going to do because he's going to want to fine-tune his game and tweak his game to the point to where he ends up making a huge impact. This is a big, big deal. I want to go to the message board real quick. Crawford Watson, what's up, Caleb? What's up to you, Crawford? GBO Kyle Beach, great news. Let's go Big Orange. Thank you, Caleb, for bringing us the good news. I was more than happy to. Dustin Anderson, we needed this. Dustin, I disagree. Tennessee did not need this. Adding him is just a huge plus, though. It's like being a multimillionaire and then winning the lottery. Okay, so Kyle Beach says this team is going to be something else to watch. You are right. Kyle also says, he's going to be coming here determined to show a good season for the NBA draft. Can't wait to watch this team compete. Kyle, exactly. This is the key point of what I just pointed out, and I'm going to show your message. He's coming here determined to show a good season for the NBA draft. Can't wait to watch the team compete. That's the key type of player Rick Barnes needs. He actually has work to do for the NBA, and he knows it, so he has an incentive to fully buy into the system and develop, unlike a one-and-done prospect. And another Kyle point is that they added a lot of size, 7'1", 6'10", 6'8", 6'4". You're right. They added size, and they added shooting. They have multiple options at shooting now. In the NCAA tournament, you can never have enough sharpshooters, and adding size and toughness, let's be honest, from after losing Adu, is huge with the toughness with how they got wrecked by Zach Edey in the NCAA tournament. 10 AC to ATL says Chaz would have to earn a starting role, but I don't think Barnes held out this long for a dude he thinks plays 12 to 15 minutes a game. That's what I'm saying. I think Barnes, I was saying he put too much stock into Chaz Lanier, but I do think that he felt Chaz Lanier, had he landed him, could do a lot of things for him, and that's why he went on for this. And then Mead Drinker's on. Mead Drinker, Connect had to carry us for long periods of time. Now everyone can help out everyone. Mead Drinker, you're right. I think that was already the case, though, for Tennessee. I think the thing is, a guy like Chaz Lanier, that's giving Rick Barnes options and who can be the guy to carry them at times next year, because there's going to have to be a guy, and either that's Dubar or Lanier, that when things break down, they just turn to them for scoring. Vol for Life jumps in. Great news. Now tell me who is our starting five. Okay, I'm going to give you my starting five prediction. I think Zakai Ziegler is going to be the starting point guard. I think Chaz Lanier is going to be the starting shooting guard. I think Darlington Dubar will be the starter on the wing. I think Igor Milicic Jr. is going to start at the 4. Now, this kind of contradicts what I said in the past, where Rick Barnes is not going – he's going more 4 out, 1 in, not with 2 forwards. However, Igor Milicic is a 40% three-point shooter himself at 6'10". So he's going to stretch the floor, and he's going to be a 4 out, 1 in, 6'10 guy. Huge advantage. And then I think the cleanup guy under the basket will be Felix Opera. And so pretty much the entire starting 5 outside of Ziegler will be the transfers Barnes picked up. Coming off the bench, I think you'll see Jemai Meshack still be a valuable defender off the bench and an elite player developing under Barnes' system. I think you're going to have Jordan Gainey coming off the bench as a primary scorer, Cameron Carr coming off the bench, who the coaches I keep saying love, and then also in the post coming off the bench, once again, JP Estrella. So I think that's going to be the 9-man rotation. I think that's where they're going to be. This is obviously why Rick Barnes didn't worry about filling those other 2 scholarship spots. He knew that this was going to be the scholarship spot he fills. And Kyle says this team all around will be a better team next year. They will not have a star like Dalton, but they will be all around better. Kyle, they may have a star like Dalton. I told you guys this, and I keep saying this. Dalton connects maybe a dime a dozen for Tennessee now in the future. In the era of the NIL, in the era of the transfer portal, a guy that is an elite scorer that now has a chance to try his talents at the higher level just for a year could make a huge impact. And I think a guy like Dalton Connect is perfect for that. I think Chaz Lanier and Darlington Dubar are that also, as is Igor Milicic. Kyle says starting 5, Zakai Ziegler, Meshack, Lanier, Dubar, and Okpara. Okay, so you think Igor Milicic is going to come off the bench. That's an interesting one. I could see that. 10 AC to ATL says Rick always loves a rising sophomore / redshirt freshman who barely played their first year. Carr Estrella stats were far shy of nearly every freshman who became productive upperclassmen under Barnes. Well, okay, That's not entirely always true, Tennessee to ATL. There are plenty of redshirt freshmen who didn't log a lot of minutes and started to develop. Look at Jemai Mashak. He's been a developmental player, didn't see a lot of action his first year. Eve Pons is one of those guys that barely played for a while and started to develop. Just I could go down the list of a few players for Tennessee, from Tennessee's perspective at least, that over time significantly developed playing under Barnes without playing much as a freshman. Or a young player. Admiral Schofield, I guess he did log 18 and a half minutes a game, to be fair to Admiral Schofield. So I think Cameron Carr and JP Estrella are going to start seeing more minutes next year. And I think, again, Rick Barnes is going to go 9 deep. Guys, I got to start talking about this. This is Tennessee basketball's arguably best team ever that we're looking at right now for next year. It's experienced. It's a bunch of hungry guys. It's a bunch of talented guys. They went to the Elite Eight last year, and they're better than last year. We are looking at a potential Final Four team, arguably the first Final Four team in Tennessee basketball history, and maybe a national championship team. And I got to give Rick Barnes a lot of credit. Rick Barnes had multiple flaws that I had problems with in the past. One, I felt he coached players too hard into March. For the NCAA, obsessed with defense and playing with size and not willing to open the court enough, even though he ran up tempo. That's kind of an unfair accusation at times because Barnes comes from the Tom Davis coaching tree. He worked under Gary Williams, where he plays up tempo and he likes to press and things like that, but he liked to do it with size, and he sacrificed shooting for size. And I always criticized him for that with his schematics. And I also always criticized Rick Barnes for this, that Rick Barnes' style was not conducive to one-and-dones and superstar freshmen. So it didn't make sense for him to get those guys. If he wasn't going to tailor his style, it made more sense for him to get developmental players that could get better under him over time and get experienced guys who were going to buy him. Guys, he's changed all three things in the last year. It looks like as he's pushing 70, he wants to get a national championship before he retires. And he's changed all three aspects of his coaching style. He has totally changed his scheme. He's now running a high-low motion offense. He's playing a 4-out, 1-in a lot of times. He's looking to score with a bunch of elite shooters and an option under the basket. He's laying off in March, hence the reason he chucked the SEC tournament this past year. And yeah, you go back and watch. He had his team chuck the SEC tournament so they could get rest for the NCAA tournament. And then the other big thing that he did, and this is a huge thing, is he honestly is playing, and this is underrated, he's going for the veterans in the transfer portal that he knows will buy into what he's doing rather than scoring big on the recruiting trail. Not to say he's not recruiting well. He's getting 4-star guys. Jemai Mashak was a 4-star. Cade Phillips was a 4-star. But he's not going for the 5-star splash one-and-done guys anymore. He would rather his splash one-and-done guys be veterans in the transfer portal looking to take that next step that will buy in when they commit to him. And Rick Barnes is going to coach them better than anybody. So I think that I think that Rick Barnes has done a very good job on that front. Back to the message boards for a minute. Me Drinker, how much will our offense change with Igor, a good three-point shooter? Seems like it's going to open up more doors. Exactly, Me Drinker. Tennessee now has 3 bigs, unlike having 2 last year, and one of their bigs can stretch the floor and shoot the 3 at 6'10". That is a huge deal. It's dramatic. It's not going to change the offensive scheme. It's just going to make it that much better. And Kyle again says Dubar could be a star too. You're right. One of these players could end up being a star. Tori Cowan asked, do I think the defense will be down this year than last year, comparing the defense from this year to last year? No, I think the defense is still going to be fine. I think that there were a lot of defenses, how well you buy in. Dalton Connect wasn't a great defender. He bought in playing for Rick Barnes. Rick Barnes is going to coach the defense fine. I think that's going to be okay. Kyle, I think Carr is a star in waiting. I could agree with you that Rick Barnes may be a star in the waiting. And yeah, Kyle says this team could be better defensively than last year, and same with Me Drinker. And yeah, you guys are right. Rick Barnes' coaching makes those teams good defensively. That was never an issue with Rick Barnes. The issues were the things I pointed out, with the lack of offensive firepower. They could go on scoring droughts and the other things I brought up. And having options as a scorer to shoot you out of a slump is a huge deal, and that's exactly what they did here. So, guys, I got to give a lot of credit to Rick Barnes on this. We have to give Rick Barnes a ton of credit. This is an incredible pickup, okay? And this is going to be a big win for Tennessee long term. And honestly, even though I thought they put too much stock in the Chaz Lanier basket, if they knew they were getting him from the start, I have to back off and say, well done Well done, Rick Barnes. Well done, everybody involved. Huge pickup heading into Memorial Day weekend. For the record, for those questioning, Dave and I had a bet over how many pickups Tennessee would have this weekend. It was either 0 for me or 2 for Dave. We said there could be no split at 1. That bet still stands because that is only for football, not basketball. Said nothing on basketball. All right, guys, with Caleb Calhoun, this has been a presentation of Off the Hook Sports. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Thanks for tuning in on a Friday evening. I did not plan to come to talk to you about this, but this was such big news. I had to break it down to you. But thanks a lot for tuning in. Again, hit the like and subscribe button. We will be off Monday for Memorial Day, but we will be back Tuesday to talk about this and how big of a deal it is. Also, check the site. We'll have some stories written on it. Again, I really appreciate all of you. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, turn your notifications on, tell a friend. Again, we're building some awesome stuff at Off the Hook Sports, and it's going to continue into the summer and into the fall when football season starts. So thanks a lot, guys. Again, we really appreciate you guys and everything you do, and we will see you again Tuesday with Caleb Calhoun. This has been a special presentation of Off the Hook Sports. Once again, Chaz Lanier, 210.